Congratulations! You're down to the last video clip in this class. For the last video in this class, I want to go back to something that we started with, which is consciousness, the mind, and the effect of the group. And to do that, I want to begin with this book by Susan Pinker called The Village Effect: How Face-to-Face Contact Can Make Us Healthier and Happier. So the text talks on page 376 about a field of study called psychoneuroimmunology, in which the psychological state affects the immune function, which then turns out to affect your disease resistance and, in general, your health. This is something that you expect stress to do, but the mechanisms of it are very interesting. Now, what we won't consider are the mechanisms on the biological side. Let's just assume that they're there. Let's look instead back to the clip you just saw about how the group can affect the individual. And in this book that I just showed you, Pinker talks about a group of people who live to be more than 100 years old, or other ways in which the family and the embrace of the social group can affect our health. She also talks about the hidden signals that pass back and forth between faces that, for example, make us want to be together in this hybrid class every once in a while to really be able to talk things out and not just rely on video clips or even screen-to-screen interactions, which somehow misses a certain presence of the moment. She refers to these signals as invisible, and that feels okay, but we know that they're really due to nonverbal facial expressions and other forms of interaction, body language, that we're reading and taking in along with the content. We also know that they're probably due to certain brain mechanisms, like the mirror neuron mechanisms that we've considered, that help our brains to resonate with others. This is where we get the concept in psychology of theory of mind. I have a theory that you have a mind, and what I want to do is to try to figure out what you intend. And if you take a drink of water, I might assume, maybe even through my own motor system circuits, which would have me do that your intention is to address a thirst you have, and that's why you did that behavior. Now, certainly, groups can be harmful. If you feel you're in the out group and everybody else is in the in group, it can make you feel terrible. You can feel alone, and in fact, it could even be physically harmful. You might get beaten up by that group. Indeed, it's this kind of process which I think is underlying the two recent lack of indictments, one in New York and one in Ferguson, that has caused such outrage, such protests, as people feel that they really are not part of the mainstream, that they're discriminated against by the systems. But I don't want to really focus on that. What I want to focus on is the positive side. And the positive side, I think, has to do with how groups, when they come together, can really give the individual in that group a place, a feeling of pleasure, a feeling that your life is situated in something of purpose. And I think that as people who have studied psychology, if there's one social obligation we have, it might be to try to promote more of that, to try to reach across lines of division, to try to create that whole group that is us as a human species, working together to try to accomplish things that we all must work on individually and work on collectively, such as social justice, saving the planet, helping each other to survive, fighting disease, on and on and on. And that's really where true, I think, human fulfillment and pleasure can come from. Let me end the videotape sequence on that note, and thank you for taking this class.